Welcome to Rule of Thirds, a program on the Screen Refresh Network where our goal every episode is to select a different topic and create a memorable list of our choices. For this episode, I'm your host, David, and I'm joined by the rest of the Screen Refresh crew, Tim, Nick, and Dean.
Howie Scream.
Wilhelm Scream. Hello there.
Oh.
Which
Dean
stock scream is that?
The new Hollywood one. I'm gonna clip it and put it on TikTok and make it TikTok famous.
Oh, it's got to go on our soundboard at the very least.
Oh yeah, it will.
reminds me of the. I was inspired by the Monty Python scene where they're trying to decipher what was written on the stone, and it's like the castle. Oh. What do you mean? That's what it says. The castle. Ah, he wouldn't say ah. He'd just say it. Great film. Anyway,
perfect film, really. Our topic today is covering our most memorable death scenes. Mine may now be Dean's, apparently, today, right now. We gotta have the it's like Dean's own version of like a Wilhelm scream. It's just Dean.
That's it. That's whatever he did in the beginning. That's getting added.
Yeah, that was off the cuff, so it's probably the best one. Yeah, and so for the future, I need people to screen movies for me, find out where there's a Wilhelm scream, and swap mine in over top of it so I can watch it and not be taken out of the movie.
Thank you, Ben Burt.
I would actually be interested in just doing that, but not telling you.
This sounds really familiar.
It's like, Dean, we're gonna watch this great movie. Okay. Oh, that scream was weird. It wasn't like a Wilhelm or Howie scream, but it was definitely pre-recorded. And
but I'm gonna use it in films that it's not replacing existence. It's gonna be like the beginning of Up, and it's gonna be like Dean's scream. And it's like, oh, that's different than I recall.
Oh, and I guess just also as a clarification for any listeners, we are specifically not doing death scenes based on how creative necessarily or how violent the death was.
They didn't want me using horror movies.
Speak for yourself. No.
We wanted to do more narrative driven death scenes that like stuck with us. Not they stuck with us because how gory it was or how interesting the death was necessarily.
Yeah, so like we're not going to be able to use the head smash cryo scene from Jason X or the hook scene from The Mutilator or any of those.
Keep listing examples. It's just getting cut.
Or any of the lawnmower kills in Reanimator.
In Brain Dead.
Oh, Brain Dead, right.
I kick ass for the Lord. So
I struggled with this one. I really did.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Nick doesn't watch movies where characters die.
I do, just none of them were memorable.
Nothing starring Sean
It was
Bean.
tough, yeah, because I mean, the immediate one that comes to mind is not my pick, and I don't want to say it in fear of it being said, but like, I always try to find examples that are not cherry picked or like the obvious, like a cold take. I would rather do one that's different or it's uniquely me, and not like the general crowd is going to say, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, like not necessarily it's just like, okay, Screen Rant, top 10 character deaths.
Yeah.
Okay, let me just pick one off this list.
Yeah. I hate whenever I have to go on a Screen Rant list and figure out what I'm going to do for an episode like this, but no, I had to dig for a little bit, and I have a few, I know we just said no horror, but the death itself, really watching it as a kid, it messed with me. And that's one of, I guess I have three choices, but the real pick for myself would be the ending to Uncut Gems. Was not expecting that whatsoever. And
spoiler for Uncut Gems.
That was a big surprise.
Yeah. So since somebody hasn't seen it here,
I have not seen Uncut Gems. So when Nick ended up saying, yeah, I'm thinking about one of my picks is the this character from Cut Gems, and I said, oh, I guess they die at the end then.
Oops.
Still a worthy movie.
Yeah, it was really good.
I mean, the best thing he's come out with in 20 years.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I was surprised on how much that movie resonated with me. Probably won't see it again. It was good, but just because it's subject matter like intense gambling and all that, I can't. That's not my cup of tea. But and it's a dark movie too. The subject matter.
I wanted to see it, and I just haven't gotten around to it. But I've heard it described as like the helicopter scene in Goodfellas. If that anxiety lasted the entire film.
Well, it's just frustrating too. Of like, the guy's got a gambling problem. He scores money, and then what does he do? He goes right back to the races, so to speak, and he's still betting on the horses. That's not what he does in the movie, but metaphorically speaking. And it's just frustrating because it's just you're out of debt. Like, stop. But nope, he goes right back at it, and it's just. But the movie's great. Yeah, the movie was great, and then the ending too. It was. I just wasn't expecting it, especially with just the present cast and whatnot.
I will need to watch that.
You should. Quite good.
Not a screen refresh episode. I'll just watch it.
Yeah, that's how I ended
You
up
watch
watching
movies
it.
for fun?
Oh, wait. Between this and Don't Open, sometimes when I have a moment.
So who's next?
I can go next. I was deciding between 3, and I'm sure I'll probably mention the other 2 during our runners-up section. But this one is actually not a movie death. It's a show death that David would know. Because you introduced me to this show, David.
Huh, okay.
So it's a show where we have 2 characters who are our 2 leads, and you think that they're going to fight their way out of like poverty and fight the man and win the day in this anime. And one of those characters unceremoniously dies like midway through the series and then is carried on the rest of the way by the surviving member. This is Kamina's death in Gurren Lagann.
Oh God. That just oh man, it's such a surprise. And it just destroys you.
Because it feels like if you were to watch the Lord of the Rings films and be like, oh yeah, Sam and Frodo, and then Sam dies like midway through like 2 towers, and you're just like, oh, I thought this was going to be like, they're the 2 main characters. This is it for the show. Like, they're going to do this. That one, it came out of left field and hit me, and it's like, it works so well in the sequence, and it changes and reshapes the entire back end of that show, but it's so rough because it's like, man, you're pulling for him, and it's like through teamwork. I mean, I guess that's like the shonen mentality of like the power of friendship, but in this case, it's like the power of friendship doesn't always work. Sometimes the realism sets in, and it's like, yeah, somebody's gonna die. This is war.
Yeah, that show is definitely a tearjerker. Like, it's got its moments, because then the whole back half of that show becomes like almost like a revenge arc where everything is about trying to get them back for that. Yeah, and it's like, whew.
While like tackling the depression involved with like the brother figure dying. But anybody who hasn't seen it, Nick and Dean, anybody who hasn't seen it might want to, unless you don't like anime, in which case you should.
Yeah, in general, I think even outside of that, the entire premise of the movie of the show is incredible. It is such a cool premise for like a mobile suit-y shonen.
Yeah.
What's the title again?
Gurren Lagann.
And they have
it.
They also have that one episode that they all have where the one day where they get to have fun.
Yep.
I feel like when I saw the beach day episode, I was like, oh man, something horrible is gonna happen like next week.
Well, I spelled that almost kind of right. I'm surprised.
Google was smart enough to know. Did you mean this?
I just watched it. I just went to the future and I watched all of it. I agree. I agree with that death choice. It
Good.
was very impactful.
Good. I'm glad.
Amazing choice.
Well, that's it for me from now.
All right, Dinathy.
Another choice we all know and can discuss. I mean, David can. Guys, keep talking about it.
That's why I'm
Go
so
for it.
glad David's on the show now.
Keep going, David. Did you call me Dinathan?
Dinathy?
Dinathy? I've gotten Dinathan, Deanold.
You got Deem that one time and you ate my burger?
Just Deem. That was Deem.
Deem?
And you know the worst part? You'll never get that burger back. You can order another one, but it's not going to be that one that you needed at that time.
I've told that story probably 10 times.
Did you tell it to listeners? Because I'm going to say it right now. Dean and I were out. We were going to go to a movie. We were in...
you better tell it right.
Going to the Brattle Theater, and we stopped at a burger place beforehand, and it was busy there, so we placed our orders, and we went and waited for it until they got called. And they called over, and they said, Deem... and
she was Hispanic and had an accent.
Dean. So Dean got up, got the burger, came back, and housed the burger. And then I got called when they said Dean. And then I got up and I was like, well, Dean already grabbed his burger. So I guess, and I look at the burger and I was like, oh, this is the burger Dean ordered. Because he ordered like jalapeno something. And I ordered like the smokehouse barbecue burger. And at no point did it cross his mind. That's weird.
Oh,
the name sounded odd, and this isn't my burger. But I guess I'm wrong. And ate the whole thing.
It definitely crossed my mind. It definitely crossed my mind.
Every
but
bite.
I continued to eat it.
So
maintain eye contact, assert dominance.
Deem.
So
I will never let him live that down. I wake up in cold sweats thinking about the burger that could have been.
It's no problem.
Speaking
to
of
me.
best deaths,
I've told
faith
people
in
that
Dean.
many times. What?
Best deaths, my faith in Dean.
Oh.
What's your pick though?
I'm just gonna log off.
Your burger.
Gurren log off.
Current log off. See, I used to like try to be like, this is obvious or this is talked about, but I stopped caring about that because I'm like, no, this is what I think, and it's the first thing I thought of.
You like what you like.
I like what I like. And you mentioned the Lord of the Rings, and for me, it is what?
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 No, it's just
He was agreeing.
I was agreeing.
Okay.
Before you even said it, I'm like, yeah, I mean, yeah.
And I think this is why I didn't pick Lord of the Rings, because I know you would have wanted to pick this one.
You knew it. It was all for me. But yeah,
Saruman.
It's
Death of Gollum.
Scene Bean. Death of Scene Bean as
Bean Bean.
Boromir.
It is such a good but kind of sad death scene.
Mm.
It's sad because he, right before that, he's falling. His temptation is really being taxed by the ring, and he had a couple incidents, or at least one incident before this, but here he really is going after the ring, and Frodo puts it on and gets away. And I think that's the last time that Frodo sees Boromir, which is sad because he spent his last moments defending Merry and Pippin from the orcs like a fucking boss. Taking those arrows and his whole, it's not, I was going to say extended death scene. I mean, it's drawn out, but not in a bad way.
For me, it's my favorite scene in the trilogy. Is his last stand against the orcs.
It's even better
that's pretty
watching
good.
the extended cut, because not really knowing and understanding his character, just at face value through the theatrical one, but then seeing all of the extra things that were added. Was it Return of the King that included the scenes? or it might have been two
Yeah,
towers.
I think the flashback. Yeah, I think the flashbacks.
And you really see that
it's hard to.
he really is an amazing character, and just cut for time, they had to remove a lot of his redeeming qualities. So he did seem like almost a villain in the first one, but he really is one of the strongest members of the Fellowship, and it just shows on how even the best of people can be turned by the ring.
Yeah, like I liked even the sequences when they're during their camping sequences and he's like playing with the hobbits and they're like jumping on his back and whatnot, and like it's nice seeing all of that. And then the temptation of the ring, it's not, oh man, like you got a bad guy in the group. It's no, like even this guy can turn into like an enemy going after the ring just because of the power that it holds. And then the fact that he like snaps back and realizes like, oh, it's too late, like Frodo's gone. It's a rough death sequence.
I mean, Boromir is such a tragic character. Like, and unfortunately, we don't get to see it too much in the theatrical release. But like in the extended release, like seeing the relationship between him and his brother, and like their relationship with his father, and like just everything they had to go through, and you have the chosen son of Gondor, and I don't know. It just, the more we learn about him, the sadder that death gets.
Yeah. The chosen son of Gondor, and the other one.
And the other one. Poor Faramir.
So many memes based on that. But yeah, it's a super heroic death. Tearjerker death. And yeah, it's a character, like you said, he has a good heart, and he only wants to do what's best. He thinks he's doing what's best and wants to do what's best, and men's hearts are the most susceptible to the power of the ring, and yeah, even the nicest people get fucked over. If you're a man. If you're a hobbit, it takes a lot longer.
So you mean man as in like the race of men, or do you specifically mean like men?
I meant race of men.
Because it was like they should have just sent an all-woman crew for the ring. They would have been fine.
Eowyn's no man.
They got around. They
Anybody
got
feeling
around
tempted?
that.
No.
I mean, did the hobbits count as men? Because aren't men human?
No. Yeah, they're not human.
They're just men.
So like hobbits,
innocent men.
Like, a male hobbit isn't a man, right? I don't know.
No, he's a. There's got to be Tolkien's got to have some terminology somewhere in an appendix.
He's a mobbit. Mobbits and fobbits.
A moin. He's a moin.
So good pick.
And
Dean.
Goyles. Goyles.
Goyles. Was it Roger Rabbit? Goyles.
Yeah.
Goyles.
I'm not letting you go gently.
Everybody loves a reprise.
I need to watch that, and I'll probably just lose my shit the whole movie just thinking of Dean as the character.
The thing that's more amusing to me is, since we're recording these for release, the listeners who are now hearing that, Who Framed Roger Rabbit would have come out the previous month, so it's like 2 movies ago.
We've got a whole lore going on.
Yeah.
That's its own TikTok now, actually, too. So if they just want to listen to that, they can.
Oh, yeah, I saw that one. All right, I guess that leaves me. And I guess I kind of also have a bit of a mainstream pick. But for me, I have to say that it's... I guess it's not technically when the death, but it's like the lead into the death. He is dying during this, so I guess that counts. But Roy Beatty in Blade Runner, his Tears in the Rain speech as he's dying, is, I think, both a really beautiful monologue at the end, like at the end of the movie when he's dying, but also a great action sequence leading up to his death with just this like totally outmatched Harrison Ford in this fight, who just manages to get the jump on him. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I love Blade Runner. I like the book better, but I still really appreciate Blade Runner. And it's just like this great moment where Roy Beatty knows he's lost, he knows he's dying, like all of his friends are dead, he's given up, and he's just like going through this moment of utter despair, and like
Yeah.
has this monologue talking about like the real finality and the awful like existential dread about having such a tiny lifespan.
I mean, the fact, like, all of these things that he's seen and all these things he's experienced and all these places, and it's just, and it's gone. It's just,
Yeah.
he's gonna die, it'll be gone like anybody else. It really is, I know he's the villain of the film, but I always felt like Roy and his crew aren't really as villainous as they make them out. Like, really, it's the corporation. Because all they're really looking to do is we just want to live. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Granted,
that's the
they're
whole
getting
thing.
revenge on some people, but it's like they just want to live. So all of his monologue at the end, which I don't know if all of it was written or I think he ad-libbed some of it, but it's such a great sequence that I think gets reused in so many other things or referenced back to. I think even Venture Brothers, they used the Tears in the Rain speech for something, because I think Henchman 21 quotes it. But yeah, it's the perfect ending to that film.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, such a good movie, and yeah, I mean, I think that would come up on a lot of lists just because of how like socially mainstream I think that monologue has kind of become. But
Oh yeah.
He did such a good job that in 2016 they made an audio drama for an Alien novel that had come out, and they hired Rutger Hauer as Ash, or to do the voice of Ash in that, because of his history with Blade Runner.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody have any runners up on this one?
I was gonna say the Green Mile, but then I realized I did that as a topic with, I think it was people that should not have died. I'm like, John Coffey should not have died. But that death
That was
would have
actually
been,
one of my runners
pretty
up.
impactful. Oh really? Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
John
so
Coffey.
crazy.
Man, what a that's one that gets me. It's
I haven't
just
seen it.
That's a tough movie. It's a
Yeah.
great movie.
Yeah.
That
Wanna
ending
see it.
sequence
It's
rough.
like Schindler's List. Like, I kind of know what I would be getting into watching something like that, and as great as the movie is, I know it's going to be tough to actually sit and watch. And it's not like I'm going to watch The Green Mile today. Like,
yeah, like I need to be in the headspace to sit down and watch it, because it's not
Yeah.
like it's gonna put my heart through the paces of, hey, remember you can feel emotions and you're human, as
yeah.
much as this isn't fun.
But what is fun is Samuel L. Jackson in Deep Blue Sea, a masterclass in subverting
Haven't you
expectation.
seen my movies?
Because he is set up to be exactly what you would expect to be for the typical hero. He's already made a name for himself at this point as an actor. So seeing him in this movie was like, oh, he's definitely going to be leading this pack of people through the shark-infested waters. And no, he's like the first guy dead. And the way he's killed off is complete surprise. So
Probably the most ridiculous
yeah.
death in that movie, but in a good way, in an awesome way. But it's
there's a lot of ridiculous deaths in that movie.
There are a lot of There's one towards the end that I forget about every time I watch it, and then I'm like, oh yeah.
Wait, is
That's
that
a surprise.
when they're airlifting the guy out?
Oh no, it's the it's like the three of them make it, and that, spoilers for Deep Blue Sea, the three of them make it, and then it's the female lead, the other doctor or scientist, and then she ends up getting eaten, and you're like, oh, so it's just Thomas Jane and LL at the end of this film.
that is Saffron Burrows.
Yeah. Although, I mean, wacky ones, speaking of guy gets eaten right at the airlift, if you've ever seen Leviathan, it's essentially a mix of Thing and Alien if it took place in like a deep sea base, like submarine system. That spoiler for Leviathan. The heroes that make it get as far as getting to the chopper, and the chopper is like airlifting them out from the water, and then it just like leaps out of the water and just grabs one of them. And you're like, oh, I thought we were done with this. But my runner up was actually a movie that I mentioned previously, which, spoilers for Four Brothers. One of the brothers don't make it. That brother would be Jack, the youngest brother. There's a sequence of them like having good family time, and like it's middle of the movie or so. And there's just like he goes outside for, I think it was like a smoke, and somebody hits him with a snowball, so he runs after them to kind of like throw back at them or like beat them. And it's a trap, and he gets led into a firing range, and they take him out. And it is a rough sequence because it's like he's the younger one, he's the nice one of the group, and then he's just like crying out for his brothers as he just like dies in the snow until all of them end up realizing like, wait, where's Jack? So yeah, Four Brothers.
Yeah, that was
Great movie.
That's a rough. I remember that.
This is the Tyrese
Mark
movie,
Wahlberg
right? With
punches
Mark
people.
Wahlberg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Andre
And
3000.
Andre 3000. One of the few movies I remember him being in.
Directed by John Singleton. So
Rated G.
That sounds like a rated G movie. Yeah.
for great
Yeah.
film.
My runner-up, which I did not pick because is technically a horror movie, but not that kind of horror movie.
I love how I wasn't allowed to use horror films, and then Nick uses a horror film, and you use a horror film. You want
Yeah,
to
but
take a
it's
shot
not-
too, Dean?
No, I'm good.
It's not that kind of
It's
death.
Godzilla from Godzilla.
He never died.
Uh,
Wait, is it
God.
Godzilla from Godzilla?
No, I mean, although Godzilla versus Destroyer, Godzilla got robbed in that. He should not have died. But no, the death of Charlie in Hereditary.
I thought that was going to
Dean,
be
have you seen
somebody's
that?
pick.
Oof. Oh yeah. No, I mean, no, I've never seen that.
Which is not like a violent death, nor is it graphic, but boy, does that surprise you. It kind of fuck you up a little bit.
Wait,
I mean, it is
it's not
graphic.
violent or graphic?
It's it's
What?
not graphic in that exact sequence, but it's graphic
Which
in the
one's
result.
Which one's Charlie in that movie?
The little girl.
The young
sister.
girl.
That's what I thought. That's pretty
That's pretty violent.
pretty violent.
Yeah, but you don't really, but it's not like
You
like,
don't see the head. You don't.
It's not
Yeah, you
like
don't
spraying
see it.
around the room like Adam's
The
family.
dread.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
it's like you
substance.
don't like see the gore and the violence of it.
Until you just see the result the next day, and then it's like,
Yeah.
okay, there's the violence.
That's a good choice though. That's
Yeah.
actually a really good choice, just as far as the death is concerned.
Yeah, because it's like
Uh-huh.
a really impactful like story death, but it's not like, oh, we punched a hole through this guy and look at all the cool makeup effects we did.
Yeah. And plus, even the Sam Jackson one, that one specifically, the subverting expectation, because you didn't think he was going to die, and it wasn't just a cheap cop out of like, oh cool, look at, like, this was one of the first few times where I feel like the person that like top billing would be killed off first.
Mm,
I will say I was not expecting that death in Hereditary. That was
no.
It's a bit of a rug pull. Like I don't remember exactly how I felt, but I didn't expect, at least not in the middle of the movie or about when it happens, like for that to happen. It was
Yeah, it didn't.
quite a shock.
It didn't feel like the movie was going in that direction.
Yeah.
And then it was because it was, it's one of those A24 like we're just going to hit you with oppressive dread this entire movie.
Well, also,
It's
I
like,
think it was
I hope
early
you-
on enough that we didn't really know what to expect.
It's true.
And I know at least like I didn't go into it. I just knew it was a horror movie, and I knew I wanted to see it, but I didn't know anything about the plot line. So it's like, to me, it was, I don't know where this is going.
Yeah,
Wasn't expecting that though. So
yeah. It was a good shock one. That really threw me off. Yeah.
all good picks. Dean, did you have any more before we wrap this thing up?
No, it was just John Coffee.
Or you could say the young girl from Bridge to Terabithia. I remember I read that in middle school.
I
and it
never-
wrecked me.
I hear that's a wrecking kind of movie, and I never saw it, and I don't remember the book, so
Okay, well, that's it.
Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. Is that going to just be a thing now?
You're our Muppet outro.
Oh, God. Alrighty. Well, that concludes our episode of Most Memorable Deaths. I know everyone always says this, but likes and subscribing really helps the channel out. If you like what you've heard, please drop a review / rating and subscribe to us on Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts to help us out. You can still find us on Instagram at Screen Refresh. Smash that like and subscribe button on YouTube at the Screen Refresh Network, or shoot us an email at screenrefresh@gmail.com so we can hear what your top 3 choices would be or suggest other topics to make episodes on. So, for Team Nick and... Who did I say?
Team.
I thought you were referencing the story.
Do you want to take this one, Dean?
Were you not referencing the story?
So for Tim, Dean, and Nick, this is David. You take care of yourself, and you can catch us on the next Rule of Thirds, airing every third Monday of the month. Also, our sister podcast, Don't Open This Podcast, every second and fourth Monday of the month. I was trying to think of something funny in the show, but I'm like, oh, all we talked about was people dying. So don't die on us out there, or if you do, make it memorable. I don't know. Do a flip.
Do a flip.
Okay.
All right.